The battle had ended, but the aftermath left the ship and its crew in a tense quiet. Valon's corridors were dim, still humming with residual energy, as if the warship itself were catching its breath after the fight. Daniel walked carefully beside Lyra, examining the damage the raiders had caused. Sparks flickered along the walls, and some systems still needed recalibration. Despite the exhaustion that pulled at his muscles and mind, Daniel could not shake the feeling that something greater was unfolding. He had been an ordinary engineer moments ago. Now he was part of a living alien warship, bound by a connection he barely understood yet could not ignore. Lyra led him to the main command chamber. The room was vast, with curved walls covered in alien glyphs that glowed faintly. At the center, a large control panel pulsed with life. Daniel approached, feeling the bond thrumming in his chest. The ship's pulse seemed to match his own heartbeat. "You see?" Lyra said softly. "Ship alive. Ship needs us both." Daniel nodded, still taking in the enormity of his situation. "I understand that part now. But what about leaving? Can I go back to my people?" Lyra's eyes were steady, unwavering. "No, bond cannot break. Choice made. You saved me, Daniel. That is forever." He felt the weight of her words. He had thought saving her would be simple, a heroic act that would earn her gratitude. Instead, it had changed his life. He could no longer leave. The ship had claimed him as its heart, and Lyra had claimed him as her ally. He took a deep breath. "Then I have to accept it. I can't run from this. I won't." She tilted her head slightly, a hint of relief in her gaze. "Good, that is right." Daniel turned to the controls. "Then let's make sure this ship is ready. I don't know what's out there, but if more enemies come, we need to be prepared." For hours, Daniel and Lyra worked together. He rerouted power, strengthened shields, and repaired weapon systems. She moved beside him, her guidance precise, her presence steadying. The bond allowed him to anticipate the ship's needs, to feel where power was weak, where systems were strained. Each repair made him feel more integrated with Valon, as though his mind and the ship's were slowly learning to work as one. Outside the viewports, stars streaked past as the ship adjusted its orbit near the remains of the battle. Daniel thought of his human crew, wondering if they had survived. But he knew now that his life belonged here. The bond had given him purpose and direction he had never known. That night, as the ship drifted through the quiet of space, Daniel sat across from Lyra in a small observation chamber. She watched the stars with a calm expression, her silver hair floating gently in the low gravity. "You've changed," she said softly. "Not just bond. You're different." Daniel smiled faintly. "I suppose I am. I never thought I could do any of this. I never thought I'd be part of something like this." She nodded. "Choice makes strong. Bond makes stronger. Together, unstoppable." He looked at her, seeing not just the alien woman he had rescued, but a partner, a guide, and a commander whose strength now intertwined with his own. He realized he felt something unexpected, a deep trust not born of friendship but of shared survival and shared responsibility. Suddenly, the ship shuddered slightly. Daniel's pulse quickened. "Something?" he asked. Lyra stood, her gaze scanning the viewports. Another presence. Unknown, not raiders. Something else. "Ship feels it." Daniel's heart raced. "We're ready?" "Yes," Lyra said calmly. "We are ready. You are ready." Daniel nodded. The bond thrummed strongly, almost as if Valon itself approved. He touched the control panel, feeling the flow of energy beneath his fingertips. He could sense the engines, the shields, the weapon systems, and the vast corridors of the ship as if they were extensions of his own body. When the new threat appeared, an unknown vessel emerging from the darkness, the bond between Daniel, Lyra, and Valon proved its power. They coordinated effortlessly. Daniel directed the defensive systems, Lyra led strategic movements, and the ship responded to both with precision. The unknown ship approached cautiously, scanning, testing the defenses. Daniel realized with a mixture of fear and awe that he could feel the ship's intentions. It was alive. It was protective, and it was connected to him. As the vessel drew nearer, Daniel took a deep breath. "Ready, Lyra?" She met his gaze, eyes steady. "Always. Together." The first strike came in the form of energy blasts aimed at the shields. Daniel reacted instinctively, diverting power to the vulnerable points, feeling Valon's pulse sync with his own actions. Lyra directed countermeasures with precise gestures, disabling incoming threats with swift movements. Hours passed in a blur of light and sound. Daniel's human instincts combined with the ship's guidance allowed them to anticipate attacks, predict movements, and respond faster than any ordinary human could. Each successful maneuver strengthened the bond further, tying him closer to Lyra and Valen. When the unknown ship finally retreated, Daniel slumped into a seat, exhausted but triumphant. Lyra knelt beside him, her expression calm but approving. "You have learned quickly," she said. "Strong bond. Stronger than most." Daniel looked around the command chamber, taking in the glow of the repaired systems, the steady hum of the ship, and the stars stretching endlessly outside. He realized he had become part of something far greater than himself, a living warship, an alien woman, and a destiny he could not have imagined. He turned to Lyra. "So, what now?" She smiled faintly. "Now, we protect together. You are not just human here. You are part of Valen, part of me. Choice made, cannot be undone." Daniel nodded. He felt a strange peace settle over him. He had thought saving her would be simple, but it had changed everything. He could not leave, and he no longer wanted to. The stars outside stretched into the distance, endless and full of unknown challenges. Daniel, Lyra, and Valen would face them together, bound by choice, trust, and the living pulse of a ship that had waited for someone like him. As the cruiser glided through space, Daniel felt the bond pulse once more, steady and strong. He looked at Lyra, who returned his gaze with quiet certainty. "You thought I would thank you," she whispered. "But my people do not think we bind. You will never leave this ship, because you are its heart now." Daniel smiled faintly, finally understanding. He was no longer just a human engineer. He was part of something greater, and for the first time he felt truly alive. Valen, the alien warship, pulsed around him, alive, vigilant, and eternal. And Daniel knew he would never leave, not because he was trapped, but because he had found a purpose, a bond, and a new life among the stars. The ship and its guardians drifted onward, into the endless black, ready for whatever the universe might send their way. The alien cruiser was no longer silent. The humming grew louder, a steady rhythm like the heartbeat of some giant creature. Lights flickered along the walls, systems rebooted after years of dormancy, and the cold, lifeless corridors began to glow with pale energy. Daniel sat in his shuttle, his hands frozen over the controls. But the controls no longer responded to him. Every system was dead, overridden by the alien ship. He could feel it. His shuttle was no longer his. The woman he had rescued slowly sat up. Her wounds still showed, her breaths uneven, but strength was returning to her. She leaned against the shuttle wall, her strange silver hair floating gently in the zero gravity. Her eyes, bright and shifting with color, locked onto Daniel. "You, human," she said in broken speech. "Why, save me?" Daniel stared at her, unsure how to answer. "Because you were alive. Because leaving you to die would have been wrong." She tilted her head, studying him. Her lips curled into something between confusion and amusement. "Wrong? You... Strange." Before Daniel could say more, his comms flared with angry voices. "Daniel, what did you do?" Captain Jorah shouted. "The alien cruiser just came alive!" "The whole ship is moving." Daniel grabbed the comm. "I don't know." "The survivor, she must have triggered something when I freed her." "The ship is awake to get out of there. Now," Jorah ordered. "We can cut through the docking locks and pull you out." Daniel tried to start the shuttle again, but the engines refused. He slammed his hand against the panel in frustration. "It's no good. The ship won't let me go." The alien woman turned her gaze toward the walls of the cruiser, as though listening to something only she could hear. "Ship knows you now," she said softly. Then with sharper words, "You, stay." Daniel felt his stomach sink. "Stay? What do you mean, stay?" She looked back at him, her eyes steady. "You touched ship. You touched me. Bond, made." Before Daniel could ask what that meant, the cruiser shook violently. Outside the viewing window, massive armored doors began to close, sealing off the docking bay. His crew's cutting beams sparked uselessly against the thick plating. "Daniel," Jorah's voice came again. "We're losing access. We'll try to blast you free, but if that ship powers its defenses..." The comm cut out, replaced by static. The alien woman reached forward and touched Daniel's chest with surprising strength. "No blast. Ship protect. Almost on cue, the walls of the cruiser lit up brighter. Automated defense drones stirred in distant hangars. The ship itself groaned like it was alive, spreading power through its veins. Daniel pulled away from her touch. Wait, are you controlling this? She shook her head slowly. Not only me, ship listens to you too, Daniel frowned. What? That's impossible. I don't know how your technology works. She stared at him seriously, then pressed her hand against the floor again. A glowing symbol appeared, lines of alien script flowing outward like veins. She looked at him and gestured. Touch, Daniel hesitated. His instincts screamed not to, but something in her eyes told him this was important. Slowly, he reached down and pressed his palm against the floor beside hers. The moment his skin touched the symbol, a wave of energy shot through him. His vision blurred, and for a second he saw flashes that were not his own. Endless stars, great battles in space, the sound of voices, not human. His chest tightened as though he were part of something vast and ancient. Then it ended. He gasped, pulling his hand back. The alien woman's lips curved slightly, almost like a smile. See, Bond? Daniel staggered to his feet, his mind spinning. What did you do to me? Not me, Ship chose. You saved me. Ship saved you. Now, linked. Daniel shook his head. No, I didn't agree to this. I was just trying to help you. I need to go back to my crew. Her eyes hardened. No, you leave. You die. Ship will not let. Life tied now, my life. Your life, same. The words struck him like a blow. He wanted to argue, to deny it, but deep inside he felt the truth. Something inside him was different now. As if part of him had been pulled into the heart of the cruiser. He could feel faint vibrations through his bones, as if the ship's pulse matched his own. Daniel sat down heavily, running his hands over his face. This is insane. The alien woman tilted her head again, watching him. Insane, maybe, but real. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the faint hum of the ship. Finally, Daniel asked, Who are you? Her gaze grew distant. Name, harden your tongue. Call me Lyra. Lyra, Daniel repeated softly. And this ship, what is it? She touched the wall gently, almost like caressing the skin of a living thing. Her name, Velan. Worship of my people, last of fleet. Her voice faltered, sadness filling her eyes. All gone, only me. Only Velan. Daniel felt a pang of sympathy. He had seen the battlefield outside, the wrecks of dozens of alien ships. She had survived when all her people had not. No wonder the ship clung to her. And now, somehow, to him, he leaned forward. Then why keep me here? Why not let me go back to my people? Her expression turned sharp again. Because bond made, ship need two. Always two. One of blood, one of choice. You are choice, Daniel blinked. Two, what do you mean, two? She looked away, whispering something in her language before answering. Ship cannot fly with one. Always must be bonded. You save me, you. Trapped now? Daniel's heart sank. Trapped. That was the word. He thought he had been rescuing her, but instead he had walked into chains he could not see. The ship shuddered again, pulling his attention. Through the shuttle's window, he saw the vast engines of the cruiser slowly glowing, charging with power. His comm crackled with a final desperate message. Daniel, get out of there! That thing's powering weapons. We can't hold position, a static cut it off. Then silence. Daniel turned to Lyra, panic rising. What's happening? Are you attacking them? She shook her head calmly. Not attack, defend, they try force you away. Ship not allow. Daniel clenched his fists. They're my crew. They're my people. Lyra's gaze did not waver. Not anymore. Now you are ships. The weight of her words crushed him. He wanted to shout, to deny it, to fight. But deep inside, that strange bond pulsed again, reminding him of what she said, his life now tied to hers. To the ship. Daniel pressed his hands against the cold metal wall, whispering to himself, What have I done? The ship answered with a deep hum as though it heard his voice, and Lyra, watching him closely, whispered words that chilled him to his core. You saved me, human. That means you chose, and now you never leave. Daniel had always thought of himself as a practical man. He worked with wires, engines, and circuits, things that could be measured, understood, and repaired. But now, sitting inside an alien warship that pulsed like a living creature, he felt as though the universe had rewritten its rules around him. The hum of the ship never stopped. It was not loud but steady, like a quiet heartbeat that followed him everywhere. The longer he stayed inside, the more he realized he could sense things he shouldn't. The faint thrum of the engines, the power flows through walls, the way the air shifted when the ship adjusted itself. He didn't understand how, but he could feel it. Lyra watched him with her strange silver eyes. She sat across from him in the shuttle, her wounds wrapped in makeshift bandages he'd applied earlier. Even weakened, she carried herself with a quiet authority, as if the ship itself bent around her presence. "You feel it, don't you?" she asked softly in her broken human speech. Daniel rubbed his temples. "I don't want to admit it, but yes, I can feel the ship, like it's alive, like it's listening." Her lips curved slightly, though it was not quite a smile. "That is Bond. Ship accepts you. Now you part of her." Daniel shook his head. "I didn't choose this." "You did," Lyra replied firmly. "You touched me. You touched Veylan." "Choice made." Daniel wanted to argue, but deep down he knew she was right. The moment he had placed his hand beside hers on that glowing symbol, something had changed. He could not undo it now. He leaned back, sighing. "So what happens now? Am I supposed to just stay here forever?" Lyra tilted her head thoughtfully. "Forever is long, but Bond is real. My life, your life. Ship needs both. You go, Bond break. You die." The bluntness of her words sent a chill through him. Before he could respond, the ship shuddered slightly. Daniel's eyes widened as he felt it. Not just heard it, but felt it deep inside. "Something's wrong." Lyra closed her eyes, listening. After a moment, she opened them again. "Power lines. Damaged. Systems weak. Need repair." Daniel frowned. "You're saying the ship's systems are failing?" She nodded. "If not fixed, ship die. We die." Daniel clenched his jaw. He didn't want to admit it, but his instincts as an engineer kicked in. "Then show me what to do." Lyra rose carefully, wincing from her injuries, and gestured for him to follow. Together they left the shuttle and walked into the glowing corridors of the cruiser. The halls were vast and curved, their walls etched with strange patterns that glowed faintly. The ship felt more like a cathedral than a machine. As they moved, Daniel realized he could sense faint guidance in his mind, like the ship itself was showing him the way. They reached a chamber filled with broken conduits and sparking cables. Lyra pointed. "Here, fix." Daniel approached, scanning the damage. It was not human technology. Organic-looking wires pulsed like veins, and metal plates seemed to shift on their own. Still, broken systems were broken systems. He rolled up his sleeves. "All right," he muttered. "Let's see what I can do." Hours passed as Daniel worked. He replaced shattered conduits, reconnected power lines, and stabilized the flow of energy. The ship responded to his touch. Panels opened when he needed them. Tools appeared from hidden compartments as though anticipating his actions. It was eerie, but also strangely comforting. Lyra watched him silently, sometimes correcting his movements, sometimes simply studying him as if she were trying to understand what kind of human he was. Finally, with a loud hum, the system stabilized. The chamber lit up fully, and the faint vibrations through the floor grew steadier. Daniel exhaled in relief. "There, that should hold for now." Lyra stepped closer, her eyes gleaming with approval. Good. Ship listens to you. She accepts you." Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead. "Feels more like she's using me." Lyra's expression softened slightly. "Not use, need, you are choice. Without you, I die. Without me, you die. Together, we live." Daniel stared at her, conflicted. He didn't want this responsibility, but he couldn't deny the truth. The bond was real. They began to move through more of the ship, repairing other systems. Each time Daniel felt the ship guiding him, and each time he grew more connected to it. He began to understand its design, how energy flowed like blood, how controls responded to thought as much as touch. During their work, Lyra slowly revealed pieces of her past. "My people," she said one evening as they sat resting in a dim corridor, "were warriors. We fought enemies who wanted to erase us. Veylan was last hope, but they came in numbers too great. Fleet destroyed, I alone." Daniel listened quietly. "And this ship has been drifting since then?" She nodded, waiting for Bond, for someone strong enough to wake her. She looked at him intently. "That someone is you?" Daniel shook his head. "I'm just an engineer. I fix broken things. I'm not a warrior." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Fixing is power. Without you, ship dies. Without ship, no fight. You are warrior in your way." Her words lingered in his mind. He had always thought of himself as ordinary. But now, trapped in this alien bond, he was being told he mattered in ways he never imagined. Still, doubt gnawed at him. My crew won't wait forever. They'll leave me behind. Lyra's eyes darkened. They already try force you away. They are not bond. I am ship is. You must accept. Daniel fell silent. He didn't want to admit it, but she was right. His crew would never risk themselves for him. Not like he had risked himself for her. That night, as he drifted into uneasy sleep in the alien ship's quarters, he dreamed of stars, battles, and voices calling his name in a language he didn't know. When he woke, he felt more connected than ever to Velan. The next day, alarms echoed through the ship. Lyra rushed into the chamber where Daniel was working. Enemy near, she said quickly. Raiders. They come for ship. Daniel's heart pounded. Raiders? Out here? She nodded grimly. They smell power. They want Velan. If they take her, we die. Daniel swallowed hard. What do we do? Lyra met his gaze. We fight, together. Daniel stared at her, fear and determination battling inside him. He had never fought in space battles before. He was an engineer, not a soldier. But deep down he knew there was no choice. The bond was real. The ship was alive, and now his fate was tied to both. The calm hum of Valen's systems had never felt so heavy. Daniel moved through the corridors, checking the consoles and helping Lyra stabilize the last few damaged subsystems. Each step felt like walking through a dream, one in which he could not wake. The bond pulsed faintly in his chest, a constant reminder that the ship, the alien woman, and he were now connected. Suddenly, the warning sirens pierced the quiet. The color-coded lights flashed red throughout the ship, painting the walls in urgent streaks. Daniel's stomach clenched. What is it? He asked, rushing toward Lyra. Raiders, she said sharply. They track energy signature. Valen not hide. They want to take her and kill anyone inside. Daniel swallowed hard. Raiders? Who are they? They are hunters, Lyra said. Mercenaries, killers, they follow power. They do not care. Outside the viewports, Daniel could see small ships approaching like swarms of insects, sleek black fighters with jagged wings and laser weapons. Valan's shields were active, but not fully. If the raiders got close, the cruiser could be torn apart. Daniel felt panic rising. His human crew was still outside, likely powerless to stop the attackers. And he knew that if he tried to escape, he would not survive. The bond would not allow it. Lyra put her hand on his arm. Do not panic. Together, we strong. He nodded, gripping the console. All right. Show me what to do. For the next hour, Daniel and Lyra moved like a synchronized team. He guided power through the engines, adjusted shields, and worked the targeting systems. Lyra's voice was calm but commanding, telling him which systems needed priority and which raiders posed the greatest threat. Despite his fear, Daniel noticed something strange. He could sense the ship in ways he had never imagined. He could feel the engine's vibrations through his body, the flow of energy through the circuits as if the ship itself were communicating. He instinctively adjusted power flows, guided by a combination of instinct, Lyra's instructions, and the subtle whispers of the ship. The first wave of raiders attacked, firing beams of blue energy that struck against the shield. The shields flared, absorbing the blasts, but the ship shuddered with each hit. Focus on the shield matrix, Lyra shouted, pressing her hands to the control panels. Her movements were graceful, precise, as if she were part of the ship herself. Daniel's fingers moved quickly, rerouting power and strengthening weak points. The bond pulsed sharply, warning him of danger. He realized that the ship was giving him subtle guidance, almost anticipating the raiders' attacks. The next wave came faster, and Daniel's heart raced. He felt fear, but he also felt an unfamiliar thrill. This was his fight now, and he had the power to make a difference. Concentrate, Lyra called. They try flank us on port side. Daniel adjusted the defensive turrets, locking onto the incoming enemy ships. Red targeting lights flashed across the viewport, and the raiders' ships exploded one by one as their beams hit Valan's retaliatory fire. Still, more came. And Daniel knew this battle was only the beginning. Human, Lyra said quietly, her eyes sharp. Do you understand now? Choice you made binds you. We defend together or we die together. Daniel swallowed, staring at the enemy ships. The weight of responsibility settled on him. He had wanted only to help, But now he realized that helping meant fighting, not just for Lyra but for the ship, and perhaps for countless others she could protect. The raiders were relentless. They moved in tight formations, attacking from all sides. Daniel felt a flicker of panic, but then the bond thrummed stronger, like a heartbeat urging him to focus. He coordinated with Lyra, rerouting energy, predicting enemy movements, and controlling the defensive systems in ways he never thought possible. Every action he took felt precise, almost preordained, as if the ship itself were guiding his hands. At one point, a raider fighter breached the outer shield and entered the cruiser's corridor. Daniel and Lyra acted instinctively. Lyra's weapon, a sleek alien blade, flashed through the air, cutting down the intruder with effortless skill. Daniel, using a makeshift plasma wrench, disabled the ship's automated defenses to redirect power to the shield. Together, they were unstoppable. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. The battle was a blur of light, sound, and motion. Daniel could hardly believe he was surviving, much less fighting alongside Lyra and controlling part of the ship. Yet somehow he was doing it. Somehow he was protecting Velan and herself. Finally, the raiders retreated, their remaining ships vanishing into the darkness of space. The lights on Velan dimmed slightly as the ship exhaled a low hum, almost like a sigh of relief. Daniel sank to the floor, exhausted, shaking, and exhilarated all at once. Lyra knelt beside him. "You survived. You fight well." Daniel shook his head, still catching his breath. I couldn't have done it without you. Or the ship." She touched his shoulder lightly. "We, together. Ship, human, me, strong, you. Understand now?" "Bond, not curse. Bond. Protection," Daniel nodded slowly. He did understand, though it was a lot to take in. He had always seen himself as ordinary, but now he was part of something extraordinary. "Your crew," he began. "They're outside. Will they survive?" Lyra's gaze turned sharp. "They are human. They will try, but they do not have Bond. They do not know Velan. Only you know how to survive." "With me?" Daniel swallowed hard. The truth was clear. He could not leave. Even if he wanted to, the Bond would not allow it. And the Bond was more than chains. It was a connection, a responsibility, and now a strange form of trust. He looked at Lyra, her expression calm, proud, and almost expectant. She had survived so long alone. He realized that saving her was only the beginning. Protecting her, defending her, and fighting beside her was the real choice he had made. For the first time, Daniel felt a strange clarity. Fear was still there, but it was tempered by determination. He would not abandon her. He would not abandon Velan. They had survived together, and he knew that whatever came next, he would face it as part of this bond. Lyra stood, brushing off the dust and leaning lightly on him for support. "Rest," she said softly. "Tomorrow, we fix more. We prepare. They will come again." Daniel nodded. He realized that this was not just a battle, it was a test. Not just of strength, but of loyalty. He could not leave, could not run, and could not deny the responsibility he now held. As he lay down in the small cabin the ship had provided, Daniel felt the pulse of Velan beneath him. The ship's energy flowed through the walls, the floors, and even him, a constant reminder that he was no longer just human. He was part of something bigger, something living, something that demanded his courage. And when he drifted to sleep, he dreamed not of escape but of stars, battles, and the unknown future that awaited him and Lyra, side by side, bound together by choice, by fate, and by the living heart of an alien warship. The salvaged ship Iron Hope drifted quietly near the edge of a dead star system. Broken satellites, burned husks of warships, and drifting debris told the story of a battle long forgotten. Most of the crew of Iron Hope saw only profit in the wreckage. To them, this was a field of scrap, waiting to be collected and sold to the highest bidder. But Daniel did not see it that way. He was an engineer, not a scavenger. His hands were made for fixing broken machines, not stripping corpses of ships. Still, a job was a job, and he had signed on with the crew for steady pay. Captain Jorah's voice cracked over the comms. "Daniel, you're closest to the large cruiser on the starboard side. Get in, scan the power cores, and see if anything's worth pulling out. Don't waste time. We move in 20 minutes. Daniel nodded, though the captain couldn't see him. "Understood. I'll check it out." He steered his small shuttle toward the massive alien cruiser. Its hull was covered in scars, Burned marks where energy weapons had torn through, deep gashes from missile strikes. The ship floated lifeless, like the skeleton of some great beast left adrift in the void. As Daniel docked with the cruiser, he felt a strange unease. The ship was unlike anything human-built. Its design curved gracefully, as though grown rather than constructed. Pale silver hull plating shimmered faintly even after years of abandonment. The airlock hissed as it opened. Daniel stepped inside, his suit light casting beams through the dusty corridor. Floating fragments drifted in the zero gravity, pieces of shattered armor, broken tools, and the remains of a forgotten crew. "This place is a graveyard," Daniel muttered. He moved carefully, scanning with his wrist console. Energy readings were faint, but there was still some life deep inside the cruiser. He followed the trace, expecting to find a half-dead power core or maybe a hidden fuel cell, but what he found was far different. At the end of a dark hallway, he heard a faint sound. At first he thought it was static from his comms, but then it came again, a soft, weak groan. Daniel froze. "Hello, is someone there?" He turned a corner and saw something that made him forget to breathe. Pinned beneath a collapsed section of ceiling was a figure. The shape was humanoid, but clearly not human. She had slender limbs, delicate features, and pale skin that seemed almost to glow under his light. Her hair, silver like the hull of the ship, fanned out in the airless corridor. She wore fragments of armor, cracked and torn, but her chest still rose and fell with shallow breaths. Daniel's heart raced. A survivor. After all these years, someone was still alive aboard this ghost ship. He rushed forward, kneeling beside her. "Hey, can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open, bright, strange eyes shifting with colors like liquid metal. She stared at him as though through a haze of pain. Her lips moved and she whispered something in a language Daniel could not understand. "It's okay," Daniel said softly. "You're safe now. I'll get you out of here." He pulled at the broken debris, pinning her down. The metal groaned but shifted under his effort. Piece by piece, he freed her legs and shoulders. She let out another weak sound, almost like a sigh of relief. As he lifted the last piece away, he carefully slid his arms under her and carried her close. She felt fragile, yet there was a strange weight in holding her, as if the entire ship somehow cared that she was being touched. Daniel turned back toward the shuttle, speaking quickly into his comms. "Captain, I found someone alive. An alien survivor." There was a pause before the captain answered, his tone sharp. "Leave her. We're not here for refugees. Just get the power cores and get back." Daniel frowned. "She won't survive if I leave her here. She's injured. I can bring her aboard." "No," Jorah snapped. "We don't take risks with unknown species. You hear me? If you waste time, I'll leave you behind." Daniel looked down at the woman in his arms. Her eyes were half closed, but she was staring at him, silently pleading. He tightened his grip and whispered, "Don't worry. I'm not leaving you here." He shut off his comms, ignoring the captain's angry voice. Step by step, he carried her back through the corridors. The ship creaked as though alive, each sound echoing in the empty halls. It felt as if invisible eyes were watching him, judging his decision. Finally, he reached the docking bay where his shuttle was waiting. He gently set her down inside and connected a portable oxygen unit to her. Her breathing steadied slightly. Daniel sat back, exhausted but relieved. "You'll be okay. I'll get you to safety." But before he could activate the shuttle's engines, something unexpected happened. The cruiser around them began to hum. The floor vibrated. The walls lit faintly with running lights, and systems that had been silent for decades suddenly came alive. Daniel's eyes widened. "What the—" The docking bay doors slammed shut behind him. Warning lights flashed red, and his shuttle's systems went dead as though the larger ship had taken control. The alien woman opened her eyes fully now, strength returning in them. She spoke again, her voice firmer though still soft. Daniel could not understand the words, but he caught the tone. Commanding, certain. She reached out, touching the floor of the shuttle with her hand. A strange symbol lit up beneath her fingers. Then with surprising clarity she spoke in broken human speech. "You saved me. Now, you never leave ship." Daniel stared at her, stunned. "What?" Before he could ask more, the cruiser sealed every exit. Outside, the salvage crew's voices shouted over comms, confused and angry, as their scanners showed the alien vessel powering back to life. Inside, Daniel realized the truth. This was no rescue. This was the beginning of something he did not understand, and something he might never escape.